Everyone laughed when I walked into my brother's merger party. I could feel it instantly, the sideways glances, the half-hidden smirks, the polite but dismissive smiles. To them, I was just the quiet sibling who never quite fit into the world of tailored suits, corporate jargon, and champagne-filled celebrations. This night was supposed to be about my brother, the golden child, the successful executive who had just finalized a massive merger that everyone in the room believed would change his life forever. No one thought for even a second that I mattered here. And honestly, that was exactly how I wanted it. The venue itself was extravagant, the kind of place that smelled like money and power. Crystal chandeliers hung above perfectly dressed guests, and soft music played in the background while people discussed stock prices and future projections as casually as if they were talking about the weather. When I arrived, dressed simply and without any attempt to impress, the laughter wasn't loud, but it was unmistakable. It was the kind of laughter meant to make you feel small, insignificant, and out of place. My brother barely acknowledged me at first. He was surrounded by investors, partners, and executives congratulating him on the deal. When he finally noticed me standing near the entrance, he gave a quick nod, the kind you give to someone you're obligated to recognize but don't really want to talk to. I didn't blame him. In his eyes, I was still the same person he'd always overlooked, the sibling who chose a different path, who stayed behind the scenes, who never bragged about achievements. As the night went on, the mocking became more obvious. A few distant relatives whispered openly, wondering why I was even invited. Someone joked that I must have come for the free food. Another guest, clearly tipsy and feeling bold, asked me if I was planning to get inspired by my brother's success. I smiled politely, said nothing, and let them believe whatever they wanted. Silence can be powerful when people underestimate you. What no one there knew was that I had been working quietly for years, building something of my own. While my brother chased headlines and recognition, I focused on strategy, numbers, and long-term influence. I wasn't interested in being the face of a company, I wanted to be the mind behind decisions. I had learned early on that power doesn't always sit at the head of the table, it often hides in the shadows, unnoticed until it chooses to reveal itself. The merger everyone was celebrating didn't just happen overnight. It involved months of negotiations, risk assessments, and complex financial structures. What most people didn't realize was that a key investment firm backing the deal answered directly to me. I wasn't listed anywhere obvious, and my name never came up in conversations, but I had quietly acquired controlling interests through legal channels, using trusts and holding companies that kept my involvement discreet. As I stood there, sipping my drink while people laughed behind my back, I listened carefully. Executives bragged about how secure the merger was. Investors talked about how the balance of power was now fixed. My brother spoke confidently about his future, unaware that the structure he relied on could shift with a single decision from me. At one point, my brother approached me, clearly irritated. He asked why I looked so calm, almost amused, while everyone else was celebrating wildly. I shrugged and told him I was just happy for him. He scoffed and reminded me that this was his moment, not mine. I nodded again, still smiling, knowing that moments are temporary, but control lasts much longer. The turning point came when one of the senior partners announced a short speech. Glasses clinked, conversations stopped, and everyone turned their attention to the stage. The partner began praising the merger, calling it one of the smartest moves in recent years. Then he mentioned that there would be a brief clarification regarding ownership and strategic authority moving forward. I could feel the energy in the room shift slightly. People leaned in, curious but unconcerned. This was supposed to be routine. That's when the partner mentioned the holding group that had final approval power over key decisions. He paused, looked directly at me, and said my name. The room went silent. At first, people laughed, thinking it was a joke. A few heads turned in my direction, confused. My brother froze. His smile disappeared as he stared at me, trying to understand what was happening. The partner continued, explaining calmly that while my brother would remain the public face of the merged company, strategic control and final authority rested with the investment group I represented, and that I was its sole decision-maker. You could almost hear hearts pounding. The same people who mocked me earlier now looked stunned. Whispers filled the room, but this time they weren't mocking, they were fearful, respectful, and confused. Someone dropped a glass. Another guest nervously laughed, realizing too late that they had underestimated the wrong person. My brother walked toward me slowly, his expression a mix of disbelief and anger. He demanded to know why I hadn't told him. I told him the truth. He never asked, and he never listened. For years, he assumed I was doing nothing simply because I wasn't loud about my work. I reminded him that success doesn't always announce itself. The rest of the night felt surreal. People who had ignored me earlier suddenly wanted my attention. Executives apologized awkwardly. Relatives who laughed now praised my vision and intelligence. It was almost amusing how quickly respect appeared once power was revealed. I didn't enjoy their sudden admiration. In fact, it confirmed everything I had always believed about how people treat those they think are beneath them. Later, my brother and I had a private conversation. He accused me of humiliating him. I told him I never intended to. I simply chose not to hide anymore. I explained that I supported the merger, but I would not allow reckless decisions or ego-driven moves to risk what I had built. He realized then that his success had always depended on forces he never bothered to understand. That night taught everyone in the room a lesson, but it taught me one too. I learned that being underestimated can be an advantage if you're patient enough to use it. While others chase validation, you can quietly build leverage. While they mock, you can prepare. And when the truth finally comes out, it speaks louder than any boast ever could. I left the party without fanfare. No dramatic exit, no final speech. I didn't need applause. The truth had already shocked them all. And as I walked away, I knew that from that moment on, no one would ever laugh at me again, not because I demanded respect, but because I had earned undeniable control.